Hey everybody, good afternoon. I'm so glad to see you. I'm Dr. Robin Gould, and here you are on lamnetwork.tv. It's a place where you can go and find all of these programs. I am so glad that you're here today. I have a kind of interesting program today that I am excited to kind of go through. If you want to ever find me, I have a website, newcovenantpath.com. You can check me out there. And as I always say before every program, is to remember that the future begins now. Anything we learn now is what our future will become. And so whatever you've done, wherever you've been, whatever you've thought, there's always now. And now can be what you tell it to be, by the way that we behave, by the way that we allow ourselves to think, and by the trajectory of the righteousness that we really just want to be a part of on this planet. And so I really want to encourage you to be a part of all of the good things. So we're just going to get right into our meaty topic today. I'm not doing the portion today. I am wanting to speak today particularly, and this is for everybody to listen to, because it's, I think, information not just for young women, though if you're a young woman, I hope you're watching today. I want to talk about a few things about being a woman. And but if you're not a woman, please listen, because you might know a woman or need to advise a woman or have conversations with women about some of these things that I want to talk about. But I would like to really dig into a topic that is, I feel like it's addressed, but not as directly and specifically as I'm going to do in this program. And what I try to do in my program is I try to do things that other people aren't doing, because there's a lot of really good information and teaching and different things that are happening out there. And I don't need to, try to do that. It's already done. You can enjoy it and learn from that. And I have so many people I learn from. But I'm an attachment specialist, and I want to give you the attachment perspective on some of these things. And I want to cover things in a manner you're not used to, because I think sometimes when we see something from another angle, it can really help us form a much more complete picture. And so, I want to come at things from a little bit different side. So, if you're a young woman, I really want you to sit back and take a breath. And I want to share some things with you to help you. Okay. Now, first, what I want to do is I want to set up this program by giving you a definition. And you probably know this definition, but for people that don't, I'm going to just kind of give you the foundation. Okay. The foundation from which I launch my discussion today is I want to talk about the straw man argument. And so this is a really clever, not as clever for all of us. A lot of people see through this, but the straw man argument is defined as a weak or imaginary opposition, which is set up to be easily confuted. Okay, now what they're saying is they take false opposites, and of course they're going to win their argument. Because when something isn't an opposite, it's very easy to bend the conversation and turn phrases in ways that confuse your listener if they're not aware that these are false opposites. It's very common that people do this. You see this a lot in politics. You see it all the time in socially engineered, like divisive movements and things like that. And so I would like to cover something today and kind of expose some false opposites. And let me just actually give you like a generic, this wouldn't be generic to people in the Messianic community, but like a false opposite that you're very familiar with is when people try to pit law against grace, like they're opposites of each other. When we know that the opposite of grace is not law, it's punishment. And the opposite of law is not grace, it's lawlessness. So when we're arguing law versus grace, you're not arguing opposites, okay? There, you can argue, is it better to be good or better to be bad? Rather than, is it better to be good than to be sad? Sad is not the opposite of good. It can be part of good. Okay, so that's a false opposite. So that's a straw man argument. So you can make that argument and you can just confuse the listener and you can distract them with points that aren't even relevant but make sense. So of course they're going to be like, yeah, I like a lot of the things they said. And you've convinced them really of nothing, but they form an opinion and they haven't really critically thought about it. So what I want to talk about is that behavior is always going to follow a belief. Okay, and we know this, right? Behavior is going to follow a belief. So sometimes when people are, let's take a bully. Oftentimes they believe that they have the right to be a bully, or that it's the right thing to do, or it's the only way they'll gain respect or be loved, right? So there's a lie they believe, because it's never okay to be a bully, okay? Though they might have a reason, even if it's a lie, but they're believing a lie. They're believing that they need to be the controller to be loved and to show worthiness, or have people under their thumb to feel like they're important, when really they're already important as a child of God, right? So that's something that we have to always remember. Now, the opposite of being oppressed, for example, isn't being angry. I was oppressed, but now I'm angry. Oppressed people are angry, you're saying. Okay, no. The opposite of oppressed is entitled. If people are behaving in a way that seems entitled, I'm entitled to do this, I am entitled to this, they do not feel oppressed. Does that make sense? Okay. And that would go in the reverse, right? So people who feel entitled aren't going to act in an oppressed way. They're not going to back off. They're not. Do you understand that? Okay. So let's just get our minds in. We're getting into our head, and we'll be in our heart too. But we're going to get into our head to just kind of launch this thing that I want to share with you, which I think is a very prime example of why it's confusing to be a woman now. Now, it's not, everyone isn't confused about being a woman, but there are people that are coming of age and they are confused. Okay. And so I will say I raised two sons. I don't have daughters. I have a niece who I consider a daughter, but the idea here is that I raised, they're in their 20s now. I've raised children with a value system that's no longer valuable to society and rewarded as it was when I was in my 20s, right? So that's unfair, but it is what it is, right? Well, women deal with this and I'm seeing this happen a lot. There's a lot of things with social media, clever, awesome pictures, touching in on the feminine energy and acting like this is really what a woman is. And if you really want to be in touch with your inner femininity and your feminine power, or whatever they want to call it, here's what that looks like. And they can take this stance and they can make an artistic argument for it. And they can word it in a way that's got imagery and is just evocative of like freedom and like wildness or whatever. There's all of these things happening, right? And you get social media is just a great place to just scroll through and form opinions you don't even know you're forming, because you're just constantly getting this information. And there's a lot going on in gender politics right now. There's a lot going on with women and patriarchy and religion and not religion and all that. And women, you have to navigate through a lot of this. You have to really understand when there's a straw man argument and they're going to win it. Now, I have an example of one that's in the form of a poem. Now, what this does, this poem I'm going to read you, and I do not, let me tell you something. I hope you're not watching this program and just taking a snippet and I read a poem and say, oh, Dr. Gould likes this poem. I don't like this poem, okay? I like the poem and that it's well written and I admire the cleverness of it, but I do not agree with the poem. But it's such a clever example of how lies are getting through and how it's really couched as what freedom. A lot of the times the things we think are freedom are a trap. And here come the allergies, right? And I'm sorry if you can hear them mowing, because they are, and I'm allergic to grass. So here we go. Let's just let me jump in. Freedom, like, for example, let's just look at freedom. So you're free to choose, a menu of 500 things. Okay, so they give you a menu of 500 things. They say, well, listen, you have the right to pick between 500 things, but a lot of people just want the 10 item menu, right? Well, I want what I have the right, or that I can have. What's possible for me to get? Well, 500, and it's lunchtime. Okay, and you get this menu with 500 choices, and you're like going through them, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm trapped in all of these choices. Like, it's almost like a trap, right? And there are a lot of other things women face, choices that they're given, that if they are not, that they carry and that are painful and that shouldn't be given to them, because that sets them in a trap for a decision making process that shouldn't have happened. And you might know what I'm talking about, but here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the artistic presentation of a lie and how convincing that can be. Okay, now I remember as a child, I was taken to the movie when I was in the 3rd grade. I was taken to the movie Grease. And I remember that movie very specifically because they gave me a very false picture of a woman at the end of the movie. So, spoiler alert, I'm sure you know what that movie's about. It was about a woman that was a senior in high school, woman and man, and they'd met during the summer, and she was wholesome, and he was wholesome at the summer, but really in real life, they were from different places. She was from Australia. But then she doesn't go to Australia, and she ends up going to high school with him. But he wasn't wholesome. He had put on an act. Or he was putting on an act at school where he, would smoke, and he would, be with all the girls and just do all the gross stuff. But he was really cared about her, and they went on this on and off again relationship throughout Greece, right? Where she's trying to deal with the friends that she doesn't have anything in common with, and she's teased constantly, and yet he can't let go of his feelings for her. And toward the end, he starts thinking, I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to stop, doing all these rebellious things and be with her. But the way the movie, and I remember seeing that, I remember like it was yesterday in the 3rd grade. I remember looking and thinking, he's smartened up. And he's picking the right kind of woman. This really loyal, beautiful woman who was like perfect for him in the best side of him. But then she comes out smoking herself in this really disgusting outfit. And I remember as a child, I was just so disheartened. I was crushed when I saw that she had capitulated to this mob mentality of like being popular and in this gross way. And I was mortified. I was so upset. I felt heartsick. I had a stomach ache because I knew even as a 3rd grader that this was wrong. And this movie was cleverly trying to make you think that was the way it should be for a woman to be free and choose to throw off the shackles of wholesomeness and go into rebellion. Okay. Well, what comes with smoking? Bad health. Yes. You can just like Paul would quote, you can read this in one of my books. I'm trying to remember which one it was, but where he says, hey, all things are lawful. Well, not all things are good for you. He's saying, yeah, you think all things are lawful? Why would they be? Some things hurt you. Why would it be lawful to jump off a cliff? And why would the Father say, do this if it would hurt you? Like, no, we have a very logical God, a divine God, a God that gives good instructions. And so anyway, we're getting this fake opposite of a woman. And it's presented in media. It's presented in social media. It's presented in movies. It's presented on television. And everybody, me, anyone who's been any length of time listening to my programs, I was not raised in a religious household. I'm not skirts only. You don't see me being, fake, overly pious person. Like, I'm not trying to push anything like that. I like movies. I like shows. Maybe I like things people think would be way too permissive for them. Like, I understand different thresholds or whatever, but I am really not a strict person in ways maybe other people are strict. So just hear me out. When I'm telling you I'm picking this up and it's really bothering me, just please hear me. I'm not coming from, the mom position of just being overly pious or whatever. No, I'm telling you, this is a trap. This is a snare and this is a trick. And I want to expose one of these today. So, the question of being, what does it mean to be a woman? Now, a lot of people would think in religion, right? Women don't have any power, and they misunderstand misinterpret all these scriptures that are culturally related, and the words aren't even translating. And we develop patriarchy in this really sick way. And I just hate that. I mean, it's just sucks the life right out of me when I see it happening. And I see a lot of women coming out of that. And it hurts the men too, of course. But let's just I'm going to look at one. This is a proverb. Let's see, 14:1. Let's just see this one proverb. I'm just going to take one here. The wisest of women builds her house, but folly with her own hands tears it down. Mm-hmm. So where a lot of people will see women in religious systems as having no power or not being equal or whatever, I repudiate that with every cell in me. Absolutely don't believe that. I don't believe the Bible teaches that. Here, what you're being told is that women have positions of power and they have to bear the responsibility of the power they're given. They build their house, but with folly, she has the ability to tear it down. Only a powerful person can build or tear down, right? So women have power. Women are not considered weak and powerless in the Bible. And that's a false argument made by misinterpreted scriptures by people who have antipathy toward God. Like it's a strawman argument. It's not real. But a lot of times the Bible's presented improperly. And I will, you can quote me on that. But the Bible sees the woman as a very powerful figure. And in fact, the woman is the representation of the thing the Father is after the most, right? The thing he pursues, sacrifices for, and adores, and puts all his time into, right? The bride. Okay, so just understand. Women, God loves women. And he uses women. He uses women as teachers and leaders in all these different ways. And but here's something I found, and it really touched a nerve because I read it and it was so well written and it was so untrue. And part of it was true that I knew it was damaging. And I want to read it. Now, this is written by a woman. Let's see if I can get her name here. I'm not very familiar with her. Let's see her name. Let's see. Her last name is Berger, and I think her first name is Sane. Yeah. But here's her poem that I do not think we should listen to or follow. Okay? So I'm going to read a poem, not to credit this as a good piece of art, though it's well written. But it's interesting. I had an argument one time with a school. They were teaching evolution. They were teaching. It was a Christian school, and they were using textbooks that taught evolution as fact. And I went to the school to argue that they needed to change their textbooks, because even if they weren't teaching that as a fact in their classrooms, if they're handing out a textbook and the child goes home and reads it, it's going to be convincing to the child. And I was arguing with the principal. It's like, I don't think this is right. This is a school my son went to. I said, I don't want my son to learn it as a fact. I want him to learn it as a theory, just like you would teach creation as a theory. Neither one of these things can be reproducible in a lab, so they're both to be taught as theories. But if you are handing out literature and information that's teaching evolution as a fact, this could confuse my son. Well, what was the answer I got from the principal? They said, well, the creation books, they're just not written as well, which first of all is not true. I dealt with Answers in Genesis, and a lot of their people were amazing to help me with showing me these texts. They have beautiful textbooks, but he said they're not written well. And these books are written really well. I said, so what you're saying to me is you are providing my child with information you think is harmful, but well written. Okay, he said, I might need to rethink this. And anyway, it just ended up really being an awkward conversation, but it was really an important thing that when you tell a lie well, and with a little truth mixed in, and with something artistic that touches in on some during it, especially during a time when we feel kind of caged with what's going on. I'm gonna tell you something. Where women are shifting and understanding roles in certain ways, Bible believing women, they need to understand who a woman is, but they need to understand it not from a puritanical position of overt patriarchy, and they need to understand this is not it either. And I'm going to expose a little of this here. So, a little different show for you today, but let's start thinking with facts and critical thinking and not just feeling all the time. Now, an attachment perspective is yes, feelings are a big part of our process through this earth, but we have to remember that we have got to think. Okay, we have got to think factually. So here is the poem, and I don't agree with this poem. It starts like this. I can't stay, mother. I love you, but I wasn't born to please you. Okay, now I'm not arguing that line, right? Part of us is during the duration of our minority, yes, we are born to please our mother during that time. Our mother knows more than us. She's smarter. She will protect us, and she's going to tell us how to live, and we're going to obey our father and mother. All right. So this is a straw man argument already that I wasn't born to please you. This implies that her whole purpose in life is either to not please the mother ever, or that was your whole life's calling forever. Well, the Bible says none of that. Okay, straw man argument. I wasn't born to please you. I wasn't born to make you happy or give your life meaning. Now, here's the thing. We are born, I personally believe, for many reasons. I believe we're born because the Father wanted to have free agents that loved him back on their own free will. People he made and is proud of his creation. And he wants us to love and worship him and have relationship with us and strive with us and work through life with us. Right? We're born for a lot of reasons. But we are born to make our parents happy on some level. We really are, because when you have a baby, that's a gift to each other, right? Your child is a gift to you, and you're a gift to your child, and you make each other happy. Now, what does that mean? I wasn't born to make you happy or give your life meaning. Well, that's a lie too. There's meaning I get from having sons that's very, very special to me. That doesn't mean they're only born to give me meaning, but part of why they were born was such a gift to me that it's upped the ante on meaning of life for me. And when I had my first child, I became a better person, to be a better role model. And really, you see life through your child's eyes, and you're like, wow, first person, I think this world's a rough place. The first place I have to look to improve is right here. The person cradling that child needs first humble yourself, improve, get better, move forward. Okay. So I wasn't born to make you happy or give your life meaning. Now listen to this. I wasn't born to rot under your wings like an unhatched egg. Okay. Now, does anybody want to rot under the wings of anything like an unhatched egg? Well, sure not. But obeying and respecting your mother doesn't mean that you are going to rot. It doesn't mean you're never going to hatch, and you aren't an egg. Okay. Now, I like the way she uses words there. Very clever, because she gives you imagery of, like, this whole idea of obeying your mother and father and being a woman means reject your mom, be your own woman. But women are to be together in community. That would include you and your mother. Now, I know people that have had very mean, cruel, abusive mothers. And I am so sorry if that's been your reality. And please don't take this as a blanket statement. There are people whose mothers have abused and harmed them. and they have to set a boundary and be distant from that mother. So, and then they have their own kids and they go off and they create a better life than what they had. And I admire these women, and I'm not speaking to that. Okay. We're just talking about generalities here of what they're introducing. They're already saying, here's what I hear. Question the commandment that says honor your father and mother. That isn't even a part of what you should be thinking about. But they're saying it so clever, right? Just going to tell you. Now, I'm being hard on this poem because I really need to make my points here. Okay. One rogue hair always on this side. Do you ever notice every week? I just one hair, it's like my air conditioner is right there and it just blows it. Okay. All right. Then this is all about the ways that we detach from things. This is all about, you want to be a woman? Detach from everything. That's basically what is being said now. It goes on. It's repetitive. First it was, I can't stay mother. Now it's, I can't stay teacher. I wasn't born to be put into your boxes to think along your lines or to memorize your facts. I was born to think independently. Okay, now let's go into this. Now, obviously, if you have a teacher and you agree with what they say, you're not a woman. That's kind of what they're saying. But the way they're using the imagery of the boxes, I wasn't born to be put into your boxes. Now, when a teacher shares something like, let's say you go into AP1, right? Anatomy and physiology, right? And they say, don't stand behind the bus terminal long. There's a lot of toxins, right? Are you being put into a box? But someone taught you that. Here's what your lungs will aspirate, and here's where what this will do. So I can't stay, teacher. Like, hey, first I've abandoned my mother. Now I'm going to abandon my teacher. Because I wasn't born to be put in your boxes. Rather than what an actual good teacher will do and say, hey, let's just find your box. Oh, you're a good horseback rider? That might be your box. Awesome. Because guess what? If you have a box, you can get cozy and good at it and set parameters around what you're going to invest in so you can become good at one awesome thing. And that's a great way to learn, right? Oh, but you're also good at tennis? Well, make a choice or just do each part-time. Maybe you can just be a horseback riding teacher and not Olympian or whatever. Like there's ways you can teach and not put them in your own box. So if I'm ever teaching anybody anything, right? Say I'm teaching somebody something. I'm not like, here's my box. I'm an attachment specialist and I run this business or whatever. Here's how you do that. It's like, I'm not ever saying that. Most teachers aren't saying that. But this is basically kind of a departure from any authority. If I have a teacher, I'm going to get put in their boxes. I'm going to have to think along their lines. I'm going to memorize their facts. It's not even going to be meaningful to me. I was born to think independently. Well, I'm not saying that any of that's not true in context. Yes, we need to think for ourselves. We need to own our own faith and own our own questions and pray our own prayers. But also, we are also born to think interdependently and community minded. This is a real thing. We live in community and we need to honor that. So sometimes our thoughts are needy. We need to park our own opinions to go with the group. And have you ever done that before? Have you ever wanted to be first in line at the slushy thing, but you don't just cut everybody? But if you're an independent thinker, hey, okay, do you understand? There's community comes with rules that you're obeying all the time and you don't even realize it because you don't even think in a non-connected way of how harmony happens. Okay, I'm just warming you up here. Well, then she goes on because she's showing you what a woman's like. This is what a woman is like. I can't stay, my love. And here's what she says. I wasn't born to satisfy your needs, to take care of you, or hide in your arms. I wasn't born to do that. Okay, let's just tackle that. I wasn't born to satisfy your needs. Okay. But you know what? A woman might want her needs satisfied, but she's not born to satisfy a man's needs. And what's good for the goose is good for the gander if we're equal here. Can we think about that a little bit more logically? Sometimes we do need to satisfy the needs of our spouse that we made a commitment to walk through this planet together with. Yeah, sometimes my husband has a need and I satisfy it. And I will make him dinner, or I will, help him with the taxes or whatever we're doing. And I'm going to satisfy a need, and I'm not going to resent him for it, because that doesn't make me a woman because I refuse to satisfy a man's needs ever. That's really what this is. But I wasn't born to satisfy your needs. Well, we're born for many reasons. And part of this might be, if you get married, then you would be called upon at some times to satisfy someone else's needs. And they would be called upon at some times to satisfy yours. And sometimes never the two shall meet. I get that. Sometimes we can't meet other people's needs. We can just do the best we can, right? Sometimes people need to meet their own needs. Straw man argument here. No one's saying your whole entire minute of everything is always about everybody else's needs. You do have to take care of yourself. But this is all about being born and what your meaning is. And they're overstating this, or to hide in your arms. Now, sometimes when we have a partner or a parent or a friend or a group or a whatever, we do hide in their arms. And you know what? This woman does too. She wasn't born to spend her life hiding in other people's arms, but it is a part of a relationship that's connected and intimate. And we do protect each other. Read through the Bible. The Bible's nothing if it isn't communities that stand up for each other and gut each other's back, right? That's what the Bible is how to love God and love people, right? I wasn't born to make myself smaller or to be taken for granted. Because that's what they're saying. If you satisfy the needs of your partner and hide in their arms, you're obviously smaller and taken for granted. Now, if you're hiding in the arms of someone because something's stressful, maybe that's the opposite of being taken for granted. Maybe you're being taken care of at a time of your need because your partner is satisfying your need. My husband just did this recently when I went through something very stressful and scary. I hid in his arms and he took care of me because he didn't take me for granted. And that didn't make me smaller. It showed me that I was the top priority in his life. Lie, right here in this poem, artistically presented. Don't be fooled. She goes on. I can't stay, boss. I wasn't born to make money for others. I wasn't born to follow orders or to repeat the same day over and over again. Okay, well, that's a pretty sweeping generalization. I can't stay, boss. I'm quitting my job, boss. I still have a mortgage and children to feed or a car payment to make. But but boss, you hired me. I'm trained for the job or whatever. But I can't stay because I wasn't born. Because when you pay me a paycheck and I get to pay my bills and eat food? Well, other people benefit from the work I did. And I really was only born for myself. So when I get paid, oh, wait a minute, I'm getting paid. So when I work, I get paid so I can eat, and people might benefit from that. And that might not be such a bad thing. I wasn't born to follow orders. Oh, yeah? Okay. I wonder when this poem was made, why she's using punctuation. Is that orders? What did she have to check a box and agree to terms to post it, to publish it? Do you follow any orders there? Were you born to do that? But in my job that I'm getting paid for so I can eat and pay my car payment and go to Disneyland and tithe, whatever, I wasn't born to follow orders. Okay, let's see how that works out for you. Well, we're seeing it now. Not too pretty, is it? Or to repeat the same day over and over again. What does that mean? You don't think it's okay to do the same job day after day for a few years, or maybe whatever. That's not why you were born. Maybe some people aren't. Maybe they have a different calling. Not all who wander are lost, right? Some people need to go and shake it up and change it up and do the different things every day. But let me tell you something. My sister owns a horse farm. And every single day, She brushes and exercises and feeds and takes care of those horses. And she wouldn't trade it for the world. And that is one free, independent woman. And she would beg to differ that she was not born to do that. So let's not speak for all women that some women love to do that. They love the same thing every day. They love to wake up and write poems every day. They love to wake up and do art every day. They love to wake up and be a lawyer and fight for people every day. Some people like that. Doesn't make you a woman because you don't like that. I wasn't born for boredom. So basically, if you have a job where you do the same thing every day, you're bored. Well, I can refute that. I can tell you, I've had a job for 23 years and it's never become boring. Doesn't mean I'm not transitioning into other, ways to do things, but I'm just going to say, let me move on. I can't stay master. What is this deal here? Who is she talking about? She's talking about parents. She's talking about teachers, boss. Now she's talking about master. Who has a master? What are we talking about here? Master. This almost makes me think she's referring to God, but she doesn't say it. But I don't know. Are you getting that feeling? Is the wind blowing you in that direction as you're getting sucked into the artistry of her words? Because she gets more artistic as we go. I wasn't born to follow your ideas of what truth is or to live according to your dogmas. This reeks of don't listen to God. I was born to find my own truth and make my own rules. Okay, well, that sounds beautiful. You go ahead and make your own rules and see how that works out when other people have different rules, okay? How about that? Let me just talk about one thing. Sabbath keeping. Sabbath is on the 7th day. We call it Saturday. I remember one time, a long million times years ago, I went to a church and they believed that it was just whatever day you picked. So I was in a dance troupe. And how do you think that worked out for us when we couldn't even schedule a practice? We just couldn't even do it because the person who led the group did Sabbath on X day. There was 3 other dancers, including me. And while I was getting ready for Sabbath on Friday for a Saturday Shabbat, the other people were like, well, no, Sunday's my Sabbath. This person, Monday's my Sabbath. Wednesday, so I can't because I have to prepare on this day for that day. So your Sabbath is my prep day. I don't really have time. We could never do it. We had to actually figure this out. And it was like, wait, this is how communities are supposed to run? Where nobody is ever on the same page ever? So yeah, you want to find your own truth and make your own rules. Now, there is truth to what she's saying here a little bit. There's always a hint of truth to what she's saying when taken into context. Yes, you have to find your own truth in terms of, I read the Bible, it says to love people. What does that look like for me? The Bible gives me some specifics, but there's a lot of gray area and cultural differences. And I need to know how to like people in cars when there weren't cars in the Bible. I need to know how to be good to people when I'm doing this or doing that or doing this or doing that, even though culturally that's not relevant in the Bible. Okay. Make up your own rules. There's rules you can make up for sure that you have to say, okay, here's what I'm not going to do. I get cranky if I drink more than like a cup and a half of coffee. So if I have a board meeting at noon, I'm going to like 1 cup those days because then I might not be patient at the board meeting. Now, in the Bible, it nowhere says limit caffeine intake if you think you're going to not be a pleasant participant in group decision making. No, I made that rule up as I went. Well, why did I do that? For the benefit of the group and for the cause that I'm on the board for. Okay? That doesn't make me less of a woman that I'm capitulating to the needs of others so I can show up and be the best version of myself. But all of this is just bringing this self-worship, and they're disguising it as femininity, because here's where it goes next. I was born to meet life full on, because if you follow rules or have the same job or your mother's happy or you're good to your spouse and you're meeting your spouse's needs, you're obviously not meeting life head on, like full on. And here's what she says that she was born to do, that we are born to do as women. This, or her, which she would say, hey, women, get in touch with this. This is what she lists. I was born to meet life full on. And here's her description of meeting life full on. I'm not trying to be mean to this person. I'm just pointing out information I disagree with her on. And as a person, I'm sure she's lovely. Okay. Meeting life full on is this: to get lost on Indian trains. Okay, that sounds beautiful. To get lost on Indian trains. What are you talking about? What Indian trains? That's not even real. That's bringing me into fantasy land where I think I'm doing facts. Okay, so I've gone from make my own rules to getting lost on Indian trains. Okay, well, if you have gotten lost on an Indian train and came out a better person, please email me. I want to know all about it. I want to hear the whole story. Come on the show, actually. We'll do a split screen. Anyone lost on Indian trains? Okay. To be seduced by dangerous men. Okay. You want to be a real woman? Please be seduced by dangerous men. What? When you get off the Indian train you were lost on, please be seduced by dangerous men. What does dangerous men mean? She might mean it as men with radical ideas. To be seduced by dangerous men. A young woman reading this, not really having a lot of wisdom. Maybe she wasn't raised to know not to get seduced by a dangerous man who could be carrying diseases and guns, and terrible fate could befall her, right? Your head could be in a dumpster. We have got a crazy world now, right? But to meet life full on and be a woman, once you're done with the Indian trains, you've got to be seduced by dangerous men. To meet different faces, places, and cultures. Well, that's awesome. I think that's great if you have the opportunity to meet different people, appreciate different places, travel, broaden your mind a little, and understand other cultures, and come back and understand yours better. Like, that's awesome, right? So to be out in the jungle all night. Have you ever been out in the jungle all night? Is that your way of meeting life full on? Well, for some people it is. For some people, that is their jam. They want to be adrenaline junkies. They are like, I'm going out into the jungle with a spider that big in my sleeping bag, and I'm crushing it. And I'm not saying people don't exist like that, but this extreme language is bringing us into this idea that, well, I wouldn't really do that. Let me see if there's anything on this list I would do. Right? Desensitizing you. Asking higher than you will accept for the house so you get what you want there in the middle. So to be out in the jungle all night, to run with wolves. Okay? You want to run with wolves? Have you ever run with wolves? I don't think that's really that. I would rather actually get lost on an Indian train, because to run with wolves, like, wolves will attack you, bite you. Where will you find these wolves to run with? Okay, it's artistic, I understand. But this is how we become a woman. We shun all the conventions and run with wolves after the trains and the, okay, all right. To be swept off my feet. I like that. I want to be swept off my feet. I love watching a movie or hearing a poetry, or going and hearing somebody do music, or learning a Bible story that was really well told by a culturally relevant, awesome teacher. Like, this will sweep me off my feet, right? Faith can sweep you off your feet. Miracles, seeing things, seeing the Father operate in your life, that can sweep you off your feet, right? And you don't even have to hate your boss. How about that? To be taken by storm. Okay, to be swept off my feet, to be taken by storm. If I want to meet life head on, I don't want to be seduced by someone dangerous and to be taken by storm. I want to be intentional in my decisions, swept off my feet because I've said, wow, this is amazing and it's a breath of fresh air in my life, but to be taken by storm, that means to be overpowered. We just talked about the Proverbs woman who builds her house. And if she's wise, she won't tear it down. Now, here's the list. To be heartbroken, inevitable. It's going to happen to the best of us. Devastated, yeah, it's going to happen to the best of us. But here's what she's doing. She's romanticizing that and parlaying that into some sort of feminine trajectory. This will happen to you. Please don't go seek it. To be stunned, shocked, lost. Now, absolutely, these things happen to us, happen to me. I've been all of those things. I don't like it. It was not fun. It was still a valuable experience. I've learned, become a better person through these things. And yes, we do live life and take risks, and these things will happen to us. She says to be thrown into the deep. She says, I was born to get my hands dirty, to get sand in my mouth. Now, I love that. I think that's true. I think we are far too sterile in our views in religion in many ways, and in some ways far too permissive. It depends on that spectrum and who you're listening to there. Yeah, we've got to get sand in our mouth. We've got to get our hands in there, and we have got to live, and we have got to be relatable but not to the point that we're compromising our morals, right? There's a weightier matter. Yeah. Mud on my clothes, thorns under my feet. I was born to jump into the abyss. Okay. You are going to face the abyss. I'm not one to want to jump into that. Are you? Okay. If you are, maybe that's resonating with you, but define the abyss. I was born to meet aliens. What kind of aliens is that? I don't believe in aliens, though I don't want to be abducted by them. But okay, don't know where that's going. To do rituals. Now, I will agree that we were born to do rituals. I believe that because we have the temple service and all of the different things that are cohesive attachment mechanisms of behavior that we engage in. And I think that we are born to do rituals. To be cracked open in ceremony. Now that's an interesting line. It's a nice use of words there. I love that whole idea of cracked open in ceremony, meaning that would be intentional. I don't like the feeling I get about that, about cracked open. That just makes me think of maybe something unsavory of a religion that I don't agree with, maybe with a little g God. At the same time, ceremony and emotion, I've been through things where we've worked together, women helping vulnerable women, and in ceremony, we've kind of been able to crack that shell and get into some things that we need to address in ourselves to be the best. And to undercut those lies we've believed about ourselves. Yes, I do believe that. But interesting, the way this is worded, on the heels of to be seduced by dangerous men, to be cracked open in ceremony. You see, this is all in one poem. It's sounding much longer than it is because I'm commenting as we go. But let's go on. To go beyond time and space, I like that. To welcome magic. So I'm not going to be on board with magic in the form of sorcery, though I think fun illusions where you pull the bouquet of flowers from your sleeve or whatever. That's kind of fun. Okay. Obviously intentionally elusive stuff, an illusion in entertainment. Like, that doesn't bother me at a kid's birthday party. I know that would bother some people, and no offense if that doesn't bother you, or if it does. Like, I think that's a disputable matter. But anything to do with wizardry or sorcery, I'm not a Harry Potter girl at all. So I don't really like anything like that. But this would, to me, suggest more of that Harry Potter thing. Anyway, to totally lose myself. So she thinks to be a woman, you have to totally lose yourself. Now, I would say, and you've heard me on this program many, many times, we need to find ourselves as our original selves, as made in the image of God, without the false selves. If she's saying that, lose all the false selves to find that original good human being the Father made good, right? And without all the false stuff. Yeah, I'd agree with that. But that's not the way I'm hearing this. I was born to feel everything. Well, that's true. I believe we were born to have a range of experiences that's much broader than we think we should be having. Personally, I do agree with her there. To taste everything. The bitter taste of sorrow, the foul taste of deceit. Now, and she says, the sweet taste of love. Yeah, we are. And I like the way she kind of talks about tasting, because sorrow does have a taste, and deceit does leave a bad taste in your mouth. And I like how she kind of pulls this imagery in, the sweet taste of love, right? And I think that's really, really true. I was born to learn how to handle change gracefully. So I like that she's switching into not, before it was, I have to almost change is my God, and I can't do everything day after day. And now she's saying, well, if change comes, I want to handle it gracefully. Because you're handling change, right? That would be something that would be happening. I was born to know the truth. Yes, I do agree with that. So she's bookending this with who she's leaving, and then she's ending this where it might leave a better taste in your mouth if at the end. I was born to know truth, to learn how to fly. That's just a generic, poetic expression you read everywhere. I won't even comment on that much. It's just a transitional phrase to keep my energy up as I read the poem, I think. I was born to learn how to speak the language of love. Agree with that. How to unchain my heart. Yep. How to shed everything. How to let go of all expectations. Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth there. I was born to learn how it feels to lose everything. Yeah. Except what really matters. I was born to live a life that would strip away everything that wasn't real, that wasn't true, that wasn't me. I am a phoenix. I am born to spread my wings and fly toward the sun, to burn up and turn to ashes, to fall to the earth and rise up again. When I'm old, I'll be proud of my scars, my wrinkles, my memories, my stories, my wisdom, my freedom. I was born to be free, and therefore I can't stay. Okay, now in the end, if she's old, when she's proud of her scars, her wrinkles, her memories, her stories, if you've got all the wisdom and freedom, you might not have wanted to get seduced by the dangerous men and end up dead. You might want to not be so permissive with your judgments about what a job should be. Let go of expectations there. Suggesting you're old means you still lived, so you probably didn't run with wolves and get lost on Indian trains. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? The idea of this poem, and why I felt like it was important to talk about today as we're talking about what a woman is that the media is programming us to think only artistically about women, because first world problems, right? First world problems. We're not worried about like, there's a chicken, I need to kill it so I can have dinner. We're like, hey, who am I really? They didn't have time for that. When this Eastern document was compiled, that was not their big thing. Though now we have Musar, we have all of these ways to explore the different elements of humanity and the different elements of compassion and the different ways that we manifest our belief in our faith, right? For sure, yeah. But I think this poem, it just hits me the wrong way, where I feel like it's suggesting to women they need to be rebellious. They need to not be joined in marriage. They need to not be in community. They have to do risky things that sound promiscuous, right? Well, welcome to the regular first world where women have time for even thinking about those things. And I don't think that was the case in the Bible. I really believe that there's just been so much gender misinformation from the Bible that it has just jaded and colored the atmosphere. But I think if we start thinking critically and we can, ignore this sort of art, I think it is artistic. I think it was well written. It's just like I said, they can write, McGraw Hill can write a great book on evolution. It can be really, really convincing and not even true and not even factual, as they found in these books. They can get these books and you can read them and you can convince kids that don't, in the 6th grade, that don't know, like, that's circular reasoning. If the fossils age the rocks and the rocks age the fossils, then how are we aging this? Like, there's all kinds of ways that we can trick kids and trick young people who are feeling caged or stressed or wondering what it's like. Now, you read a great poem like this, and it's a great poem. I don't agree with what it says. It's a great poem, though, which is worse. Like I said, that's the principal saying. So you put in my child's hands well convincing information that you felt he shouldn't believe. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me. And you're not willing to replace these books. And I had found a way for the school to replace the books. I actually had found at wholesale cost these gorgeous books that they could have replaced their science books with, that still taught the theory of evolution and gave ideas why it was flawed scientifically, and why creation is a theory because it can't be proven in a lab. And so for sure, it was like, I felt like it was an unbiased way to teach information. I always feel that that's how that looks, but that was not met with, they didn't want to admit that one parent could come in and challenge, years and years and years of these were horrible textbooks. They were old and written and ripped and stupid, and they just didn't even want to. They're like, they're not bad enough to replace yet. I'm like, yeah, that's just, I totally didn't respect that position. And my kids are just a little too smart for that. So we didn't even end up continuing on with that school. But I hope this helped you today, because I am honestly just really wanting women to, young women coming of age, to just get out of the media curated image they want you to make of yourself and this stupid stuff that's well written, and understand that the biblical principles of connection, loyalty, advocacy, safety, wisdom, obeying your parents, these are good things. This is what's going to make you get to that old age with wisdom and scars and being proud and be able to handle the abyss you get thrown into at certain times, or whatever, being devastated and stunned. You have a place to fall back, right? We have our faith, and part of the way that the Father, I believe, cradles us is through community. So yeah, just kind of trying to get a little bit more of our wisdom. I don't think the chat is on today. Nope, it's not. Oh, maybe it is. Is the chat on? I hope that author isn't like, Shalom. Yep. Yep. There's just definitely not everybody that likes that poem. They'll right along with me. I think that I'm not alone in my belief there. So finding these ways that we can empower young women to understand the godly principles of the Bible doesn't make them not a woman, even though modern society says, the Bible's outdated. It makes you powerless. It pulls you into, weakness and subservience, when that's not at all what it does. Prayer and connectedness and having a happy marriage where you provide for your spouse, like that, those are good quality things. And I want you to just really think on that and pray on that, and really understand that there's a lot of things out there to trick you and to tell you what it means to be a woman. And it will probably be the antithesis of what the Bible teaches, but it will be done cleverly. And I certainly don't go to that person's channel that wrote the poem. I don't really even know anything about her channel. And I would call her a false guide for sure. But I mean, in terms of just that she really believes this is what a woman is. So in her mind, this is her path. But I don't believe that that's the path that the Bible illuminates for us as women. And we have to understand about art, right? Art can be very tricky. And we have to be careful with art. We have to be careful with clever stuff that evokes emotion. And that's really, really important. So anyway, I was glad you're here today. Thankful for the time that we had together. And I will see you next week. And remember, until then, the future begins now. Bye.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.